Hi, welcome to Survival Skills. So if you've been watching my videos, you know that I got elytra in the last video. Um, Now I need some gunpowder and I need a way to fix my wings. I've got unbreaking on my wings. I got an Unbreaking 3 book from my fish farm. So I've got Unbreaking 3 on them, but I don't have mending yet. So I need to get some phantom membranes. Yeah, so I've been farming phantoms. And if you look at my inventory bar, you'll see that I've got 49 phantom membranes now. I wanted to talk a little bit about phantoms because most people hate them, and for good reason. So, because they usually come along at the worst possible time when you're least prepared and kill you. So I wanted to get better at fighting phantoms because I want to be able to kill them with a looting sword. So I've got like looting 2 on this sword right here. And I want to get a lot of phantom membranes. So I don't want to just run away from them. And I can shoot them with a bow, but I don't get as many drops that way. So I'd rather do it with a sword. So then I was wondering, well, how do you best fight them with a sword? So we're going to kill some time looking at this some automation here until the phantoms show up, and then we'll talk about phantoms. So the other thing I need is gunpowder. So I want to automate my farm. I want to put an auto flush on it, and I've put some dispensers in there. So let me light it up so you can see what's going on without falling in, hopefully. So I lined the back wall here with dispensers, and they're on an Etho timer to flush the platform for me. And the way I have these spider pads staggered, if you watch the build video, I talked about this. It looks like it's working. The reason I made the farm the size that I made it and with the pad configuration that I'm using here was so that I would be able to convert it to full auto. So it's full auto now. You can see that the water flows all the way to the edge. And in the case of these columns right here, there's a straight shot from the dispenser all the way to the pit. So when that flushes, you'll see that that water actually flows over that trapdoor and out 1 block. So, and then if there is a slab between the dispenser and the edge of the platform, the water goes right to the edge of the platform. So on these, in these columns right here, the water is going to push any mobs that spawn in here right off the edge, and they're not going to be able to stand on that trapdoor. And in the spaces where they could stand on the edge of the trapdoor, I just took the trapdoor out because I'm going to be going to full auto. I don't need them to walk into the pit anymore. I'm going to push them into the pit with water. So that's the first step, is to put those dispensers in. So there are 16 dispensers along the back of the wall. And the next step is to hook up the circuits that are going to fire the dispensers. So you just need a repeater for every other dispenser, just like this. Oops, looks like I got some phantom action here. Funny I didn't hear them. Let me see if maybe my sound is turned off or something. Alright, so for some reason I don't hear them. But let's go over to the platform. They're here. It's an annoying sound anyway. I don't really need to hear it. So with the phantoms, the best way to fight them with the sword is to understand that you got to hit them behind the back of the neck. So you don't aim for their nose. You'll see a ridge on his back right there. You got to hit at that ridge along the back of his neck, not at his nose. and that's going to give you a lot better success rate when you're fighting phantoms. I have good armor now, really good armor, protection 4, protection 3, protection 3, protection 4, all diamond protection armor, so I can stand out here and fight it out with the phantoms now. And I've got a great sword. I've got a smite 4 sword with looting on it. If you're not that well equipped, you can still fight them just fine. You just have to maybe retreat once in a while. So I've got an overhang here. If it gets too heavy, I just run under here. So bring lots of food with you, and you should have pretty good luck with the phantoms. So there's no reason to fight them unless you want the phantom membranes. So oh, here we got a whole bunch of them here. They can also hit you underwater, just something to be aware of. Excuse me. So let's see, we got a few more coming. Oops, took me by surprise. Okay, let's take this guy out. That's why I have those cobwebs up there. So I made those cobweb pillars so that when they try to fly away, they might get a hit on me, but when they try to fly away, I got a chance to whack at them. They're not so easy to hit with a sword when they're in the cobwebs, but it's it's easier than when they're flying at you. So if they're going to put a hit on me, I want them to pay for it. So they get stuck in the webs when they try to fly away. And the way I built this is I just went up 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks, and on each side here, and put some light on here so nothing will spawn on this pad. And then just put cobwebs, and you have to collect those with shears when you take down your spider spawner, or when you go through your abandoned mine shafts. You just go through with shears and get yourself some cobwebs. So next time you're in there in a mine shaft, bring the shears and be sure to get cobwebs. Don't break them all into string, because you can't craft cobwebs. So go for the back of their neck. That's a bigger hitbox. You'll have much better success with a sword, and you'll get more drops. And then if you want, you can build yourself a little phantom trap there. So even if you miss them, or when they try to fly away, they'll get stuck in there, an easy kill. So I don't know if any more are going to spawn here, but I'm okay. If I get hit by another one, then we'll deal with it. So anyway, back to this timer. So we got this circuit here where you need a repeater every other dispenser. And I think in an earlier video I did an auto flush and I had a repeater on every dispenser, and I just forgotten about this. You can go every other dispenser, and then you just run your redstone line to connect all the repeaters up, and then you just need to run a redstone dot in between each repeater to get the dispenser that's in between repeaters, and this will get all of them. So it'll, you only need half as many repeaters that way. So then here I've got an observer that's going to provide the pulse to fire the dispensers. And note that I put the observer kind of halfway, like in the middle, right? Because this signal here will only go out 15 blocks from the observer. Well, that's like 8 blocks that way and 8 blocks that way. So I could go out as many as 15 blocks in that direction, and 14 in that direction, and 14 in that direction, because that's 1 block, right? So I could fire a lot more repeaters. So I don't have to, the nice thing is I don't have to have a repeater, to repeat that signal. It'll reach all the way. So that's why I centrally located the observer. The observer is watching this redstone block right here. And when this redstone block moves, the observer is going to give me a pulse. So I get a pulse anytime that redstone block moves. I'm going to get a pulse. So I'm just waiting to see it pulse one more time. You see it pulse? Okay, whether it moves in front of the observer or moves away from the observer, you're going to get a pulse. So there are ways to do that with other circuits, but this is a simple way if you just want to fire a bunch of dispensers. If you want them to drain and flood, then this is a good way to do it. So now let's take a look at this clock. This clock is very interesting. first of all, let me see if I have a redstone torch. Let's see if I can stop this clock, and then we'll pull some items out here and we'll take a look at it. So thought that would stop the whole thing, but I guess not. All right. Did we get it? All right. So let me break the hoppers out. Take that redstone torch out. Let's just do all this. So to build this, I've got my observer right here. So I want it to watch this redstone block. So I just put down this red, what I did was I knew I was going to need a piston right here, right? So I put this piston down. Let's just pull it apart and take a look. Okay, and we've got the redstone dust as well. So I know that I'm going to have a redstone block right in front of this observer. So I kind of built it kind of backwards, like this. Actually, yeah, like that. And then put a redstone block right there because I know I'm going to want that. And then I'm going to need another piston over here to push the redstone block back. So these two pistons will push the redstone block back and forth. And then I'm going to need a hopper circuit, a hopper timer. So the way you build that is you just stick a hopper in the ground and you point another hopper into that hopper. And if you look now, it's half done. This hopper is pointing into this hopper, but this hopper is still pointing into the ground. So you have to go one more step here. You have to break that one out. You point this one into this one. And now you've got the hoppers are facing into each other. So the way this works is you're going to get your timing from these pushing items back and forth. What's important is to understand is that you're not quite home yet. If I throw an item into one of these hoppers, it's going to try and push it. Let's see, I've got this one locked. Let's take this redstone block out. It's going to push that item back and forth. You see how it's pushing it back and forth? So it's disappearing and reappearing. So they're just shoving it back and forth. So I suppose that's good for some things, but what I want is I want to be able to put like 25 items or 30 items into a hopper. And I want all the items to drain out of the one hopper into the other hopper before the other hopper shoves them back. But look what happens if I try to put 30 items into this hopper right here. You want them to drain off, but you see how they're not doing that? So the clock isn't working yet. The reason is that as soon as this hopper shoves an item into this hopper tries to push that item back. It's instant. So this hopper doesn't wait for this hopper to empty. It just starts shoving items. As soon as it gets an item, it pushes it back. So that's what this redstone block is for. What I want to do is I want to lock that hopper so that it won't push items back. Okay, so that's part of the puzzle. So it's not, once this empties, it's going to stay this way because this hopper is locked. It's not going to do anything until that redstone block moves. So that's part of the puzzle. So if I take and I move this redstone block over to here, what we'll see now is we'll see that this hopper will accept items and it won't try to shove them back, and it'll just fill up and then it'll stop. All right. So now what we want to do is we want to monitor those hoppers. We want to know when there's something in a hopper. So we put a redstone comparator on it. So see how this one's lit and this one's not? That's because this hopper has items in it and this hopper is empty. So what happens now if I say I'm going to move the redstone block over to, say, here, is we see this hopper's still got items in it. They're draining out. This hopper has items in it. So I'm getting a redstone signal out of it, out of both hoppers, as long as they both have items in them. But as soon as these items drain out of this hopper, this redstone signal dies, and this one's still lit because it's got items in it. So we can use that. What we want to do is we want to pass the signal from that we're pulling out of the hopper. We want to pass it around to the piston. So we put a block right here to pull the signal out of this comparator. So this comparator is energizing this block, and then we use this block to energize this redstone dot that is then going to energize this piston and push that redstone block over. So now this hopper is locked. This hopper is going to drain out, and let's see what happens. Now we get this back and forth thing going here because there's no signal coming out of this hopper to stop that piston from pushing that redstone block back. But let's put a block in here. And what we're going to do is we're going to get a kind of a tug of war. If we put a block here and then we put a redstone dot right here, this is going to get energized as soon as it sees an item come into this. Well, you can see you're getting a signal out of this hopper. So this is going to energize this piston. Okay? So what we're doing here is we got kind of a pushing match going on. That's energized. That's energized. And as long as both of them have items in them, they're gonna both be energizing their respective pistons. So that piston's pushing this way, this piston's pushing that way. There's no movement. So what causes the movement? Well, what causes the movement is when one of these hoppers goes to zero, it's going to temporarily pulse off that comparator. It's going to let this piston take the signal off this piston, which allows that other piston to shove the redstone block over this way. And then almost immediately after that, then this becomes energized again because the items want to flow back and forth. You know, as soon as you move that block right there over to here, it's going to allow that hopper to start pushing items into this hopper. And then when those items start to flow into this hopper, it's going to energize this, which is going to energize this, which is going to start pushing back, right? So let's watch it cycle again. Now you see you got things cycling, and this is draining, this is energized, this is energized because this is, but as soon as that goes empty, this signal gets released for just a second, just long enough for that piston to push this redstone block this way and lock this hopper, and then it just goes back and forth like that. So it's like a pushing match between these two pistons that is based on the items flowing in these hoppers. So, you know, kind of run this video back. I know it's kind of hard to follow the first time through, but it's kind of cool when you finally get what it's doing. So now you can use that. It takes a certain amount of time for an item transfer, for each item to transfer through these hoppers. And I think if you look at Etho's video, it's 0.35 something seconds. I just rounded up to 0.4 for estimates. So if you want a 10-second pulse time, 10 seconds between pulses here, you have to figure out how many items to drop into the hoppers, right? So if I take 10 seconds and I divide that by, actually you could divide it by 0.36 and you probably get really close. I just divided it by 0.4, and then I observed it, I watched it, and I counted, and that was a little less than I needed, so I just threw a few more items in there. So I arrived at this this 30 count. So I've got 30 items going back and forth in these hoppers, between these hoppers. So that gives me 10 seconds between pulses. So every 10 seconds that block moves. That causes this observer to give a pulse and causes the dispensers to either flush or drain. So that's how it works. And then if you want to control this thing, if you want to be able to turn it off and on, I don't have, let's run over here and let's make a lever. And it'll probably be phantom time pretty soon. Let me see if I've got some sticks. let's make a couple of levers here. Let's go back over. And I hope you guys, I hope you want to see the details. I know it takes a little bit of time to go over it, but I didn't want to just gloss over it because I know some people want to know how this really works. And it took me a while to figure it out, but I just like to know how things work. So we can put switches on here now. Now what this does is, if I throw this switch, it's going to permanently energize this block. So now it doesn't matter what's going on with that redstone block there. This piston is going to be permanently activated and permanently pushing in that direction until I turn that switch off. So that allows me to control the state. So if I turn that off and turn that one on, it's going to settle down with one of the with this piston now pushing in that direction, and it's going to stay that way. So I can lock this thing out. So I can lock the pads, these pads, in either a flooded or a dry condition. So that's the, see how I got them right on the back of the neck there? That's what you want to do. So you can use these switches to control it. They're ganging up on me now. I haven't slept for a while, so I'm getting lots of phantom action. I love it when they swoop in slow like that. Makes them an easy target. So that would be to lock it out in one position or the other, and you're going to end up with all the items in one hopper or the other. There's another way to lock it. You can put blocks above each of the hoppers, and then love that when you get them clean like that. You can put blocks back here above the hoppers and put a redstone torch over the hoppers, and that'll lock it. It'll stop it dead in its tracks. So if you had like 15 items in one hopper and 15 items in the other hopper, it'll just stop right there until you're ready to unlock it again. So that's another way to do it, and I think Etho discusses that in his video. So I don't know, I hope that wasn't too much information. I hope you have if you wanted to understand how the timer works, so I hope that helped. So now I've got a fully auto farm, so I can go AFK now and just sit up there, and I don't have to worry. I don't have to come down the ladder, and I can just let this thing get gunpowder for me, because I need those for my elytra. And I've got I've got a stack of phantom membranes, and that'll be enough to keep me going until I can get mending on my elytra. So life is good. So I'm just going to close those trapdoors and put my fence back in here. And I think we're good. So I hope you found this helpful. Please click the like button if you like the video, and please leave any questions or comments that you have below. And click the subscribe button if you haven't already done so, and the notification bell. It supports the channel, and it will also help make sure that you don't miss out on future content. I've got a lot of other content on the way. I'll see you all in the next video. Thanks a lot. Bye.